Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is a very fun Dragon Ball game. It's loved by millions around the world for its very interesting story, the amazing CAC feature, being able to immerse yourself in the Dragon Ball universe. But something most notable about Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is the game's modding community. Anything that you want, any character that you want, has most likely already been made a mod in all amazing quality and completely for free in most cases. Anything that you could ever want is in the game via mod. And if you're a fan of my channel or have been a fan of my channel for at least the past 2 years, you're probably aware of my patch called the Gameplay Enhancer. For those who aren't aware, the Gameplay Enhancer is pretty much a giant quality of life update patch for Xenoverse 2, with its main focus being to buff the game's cast character roster in ways to make them more strong, unique, and fun to play, while also making Xenoverse 2 a just more fun experience. At the time of this recording, when this video goes up, the last time I have actually made an update video for my Gameplay Enhancer was about a year and a half ago. However, during that year and a half time span, I haven't been doing nothing. I've been working on the project still consistently since then, all the way back in March of last year. And today we're going to be going over most of the new content, and a lot of what has changed since my last video update for the project. It is currently available for download right now in the description, but allow me to tell you most of the new content, as there's a bit to go over, so hopefully you'll stick around and figure out what's changed in my giant, massive new update for Xenoverse 2. Let's get into it, guys. The first thing I would like to bring up is the version number and the naming of the program itself. Last we left off, the version number for this project was actually at 7.1. This internally was meaning it was at beta 7.1, but I'm happy to announce that it has since been made an official release at version 1.0. The project has also been renamed from the Gameplay Enhancer to the Cast Character Overhaul Project to better convey the message of what this patch is actually trying to accomplish in buffing the cast characters. A few updates have been released since then, so the current version we are currently on today is version 1.3, and we're going to be going over all the content that has been added to the project since then. This patch is fully out and available to download. The link to this patch is in the description. However, at the time I'm actually recording this video, the patcher isn't updated, so unfortunately you're going to need to downgrade your game if you want to use it at this current moment. However, it'll be updated as soon as the patcher is up to support the new version of the Daima DLC, which is the most recent release at the time of this recording. Anyway guys, let's get into the features. Something else unique to help the cast characters stand out even more is actually a new aura I created for Vegito Blue. Vegito Blue, though, I did decide to give him his own custom aura. Let's take a look. This aura is only present on Vegito Blue himself, but I do hope you all enjoy this aura and are able to have a lot of fun playing as Vegito Blue with this aura. The next piece of media I would like to cover today is actually the addition of a bunch of new title screen artwork pieces that can be installed with the Cast Character Overhaul project now. Here's a few of them on screen. If you've been following this project for a long time, you're probably aware of all the title screens that got added into the game. However, a bunch of those older beta ones were removed in favor of these new pieces that I put together for this project specifically. These can all be installed after selecting one of the many new installation options that come with this giant update, leading us into our next point, new installation options. So if you've been aware of my Cast Character Overhaul project or the Gameplay Enhancer, you're probably aware of how long it took to install, or maybe just how many options there were to actually install something regarding this project. However, with this update and the succeeding updates, little version updates that came out after 1.0, a new installation options, or many new installation options were added in, including one of those options being Express Installation. At this point now, you just click a little button, pick the title screen piece of artwork you want, and then just install the project really fast. This will pretty much make it so a bunch of the quality of life changes do not get selected, and you can just install a project in just a few seconds. There's a PvE and a PvP version of this that installs them with PvE or PvP variant of the Super Souls. There's also two other options as well. There's another option, which is the custom installation option, which is pretty much how you've installed the project pretty much ever since you actually installed it from the beginning, where you're able to pick a bunch of options. And then there's also our next part, Revamp support. Yes, this is something I've been requested pretty much since the patch came out, and that's Revamp support. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 Revamp is the most popular Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 mod, and for good reason. It takes Xenoverse 2 as a whole and completely turns it into a new game with a bajillion pieces of new content, a new visual overhaul, and so much passion from a very passionate team of developers that you'd be crazy not to use this mod if you are a Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 fan on PC. And for the longest time, these two mods have had a lot of conflicting files, where you could still use Revamp with this patch, but unfortunately some things would kind of like break a little bit, with character names and stuff, but with version 1.2, Revamp support was fully integrated into the program and has been supported ever since. As we are all aware though, at least at the time of this recording, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 Revamp is currently down at this point, but when that project is updated and the new patcher comes out, this patch will actually be available to use with Revamp with full support, where they both work together flawlessly. This patch was extensively tested to make sure it works, and there was no issues, so hopefully you guys are able to enjoy both patches at the same time. More on the topic of uniqueness, something I did decide to do during the development of the version 1.0 release is actually give Super Saiyan God Goku his own ultimate attack. Super Saiyan God Goku is notorious, well, was notorious for not having his own attack before he got Godbind, but I did decide to give him, about a little over a year ago at this point, his own ultimate attack called the Kamehameha Rebirth. This is just a red Super Kamehameha that envelops God Goku, though, in an aura where he can't be stamina broken out of the attack. It's just something to make God Goku stand out a little bit more, and God Goku is a character who has also gotten a Super Soul as well, along with a few other characters too. Something I actually did get a lot of requests about is actually the skill sets themselves. Some people weren't huge fans of the skill choices I give in the characters, so I decided with the version 1.4 update to actually introduce a feature in which you can actually install the vanilla skill sets for the characters. For example, I made sure all characters had charge up skills, but a lot of people weren't fans of this and they did like the original vanilla choices that the game itself provided for the cast characters. For example, a lot of people like the generic meteor crash on a lot of characters. My project aims to give characters dynamic attacks and unique attacks that you wouldn't expect on them, but that fit them pretty well. But some people weren't a fan of this, so I did decide with this update, you can now install the vanilla skill sets for all the characters without my influence over them. Speaking of this update, remember how I talked about those Super Souls? Some people did like the idea of the Super Souls, however they did like the original Super Souls in the game a little bit as well, and they just wanted the cast characters to be a wee bit stronger. So with the 1.0 update as well, a third option has actually been added to the project's installer, labeled the Stat Boost Upgrade. Instead of installing PvP or PvE Super Souls, you can now actually click a third option just to give the cast characters a stat boost and keep the vanilla Super Souls on. This is for those who don't want to actually use the upgraded Super Souls, but still want their CACs and their cast characters to still be on similar levels of strength, but to have the cast characters be a bit stronger. So be sure to pick this option if you want your cast characters to have a higher stat spread. For those curious, it's about a 10% increase in defenses and a 15% increase in offensive stats. And this also removes the stat debuff applied to them in quests as well, so cast characters will be a lot stronger at this time. So make sure to install this if you're curious, or if you just want to have a bit of a different gameplay experience. Also released in the version 1.0 update is the addition of a new piece of content added in this patch called Boss Parallel Quests. If you've been following this project since the beginning, you're aware of the remastered expert missions. However, this is different. Boss Parallel Quests are vanilla parallel quests, pretty much made a lot harder than the original version of those quests. For example, the legendary Super Saiyan Parallel Quest 28, where you fight Super Saiyan Goku. If you install this Boss PQ's patch, it turns this quest from a normal quest into a Boss PQ. What this does pretty much is massively increases the stats of all the bosses inside the quest itself, and makes the quest an extreme challenge. Now, this doesn't just inflate the numbers to the high heavens or anything like that, no. In fact, these boss PQs, while it does inflate their numbers and make them a lot tougher and actual threats as enemies, this actually gives the character exclusive Super Souls that you use on your characters with this patch to the enemies themselves as well. They will use these powers against you. For example, Namek Goku's nullification of beam attacks will actually be used on the enemy Namek Goku here, so you're going to need to make a team around this mechanic, maybe with strikes or something like that. There's, at the current recording, 5 boss parallel quests, with all different Super Souls and enemies, and different varying lengths of difficulty and length of the quest itself, with all these characters using these Super Souls actually against you in a very tough gauntlet against a bunch of enemies. This is an optional patch, by the way. You don't need to install, but it is an option for those who are interested. Speaking of those who are interested, a huge request that I've gotten pretty much ever since I made Primal Charge for Super Saiyan 4 Goku is to make it available for CACs. With the 1.0 update, Primal Charges are now available for CACs via an X2M you can install in the RAR archive, so hopefully you're able to enjoy this move on your CACs. While we're on the topic of Super Saiyan 4 Goku, we might as well go over a very interesting mechanic of this character. As you're probably aware, he did get his Super Soul in the version 1.0 update. However, with his Super Soul actually came another new unique attack for Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and that is a unique awakening skill, aptly named Super Full Power Evolution. Take a look.
You've gone too far, baby.
This skill does what it says on the tin. It's like in Dragon Ball GT, when he got all his energy from his Saiyan comrades to attain the super full power Saiyan 4 form. This is what that skill is, and it's actually baked into his Super Soul as well. Pretty much is, without going into too many details of the character details for their Super Souls, Super Saiyan 4 Goku will now actually gain a massive stat buff when he uses his transformation to make him feel more like the anime when he actually transforms, an indestructible Saiyan force for a temporary amount of time. But this skill is on Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and the way it functions is you need to use Primal Charge to give yourself 15 key bars. When you have 15 key bars, pop the Awakening skill, you'll do the animation. This animation will also reduce the key of every single enemy on the field to 0, while making it so Super Saiyan 4 Goku gets all his stat boosts for 59 seconds. After those 59 seconds run out, Super Saiyan 4 Goku will only keep an extra little amount of ki recovery he gets, and you won't be able to de-transform unless you get KO'd. You cannot de-transform unless you're KO'd. This form is insanely powerful, but its power is very limited, so make sure to use it wisely. To pad some time out, I did also want to go over another piece of media that I ended up adding to the program. Now, this piece of media is a little older and was added even before version 1.0 came out, and I never covered in any official material to my capacity, so please take a look at this clip.
As I stated, I wasn't actually going to be making another update video before the patcher updated, but I decided to, and some other stuff I was working on since last time, I figured I threw this in there to pad some time out. Starting with a bit of a minor change, but something I definitely thought needed to be done. Super Saiyan Gogeta, from Dragon Ball Z specifically, has had his name changed from Gogeta Super Saiyan to Super Gogeta, to distinguish this Gogeta from the Dragon Ball Super Gogeta. Now, something else that I'm adding in, or should I say is already in the game in this current gameplay enhancer you can download that I forgot to cover yet again in my other update video, introducing the 4.0 update, which is out. New battle lines for the text chats were also added in, but they're meant to be used with friends, so you can feel free to mess around with these. If you guys have any lines you would like to see added in, feel free to let me know, but here's a few of them in play. Another change I'm introducing with the new gameplay enhancer update. If you guys saw the last video with the new voice lines for the character select quotes and all that, I'm adding even more voice lines in. Yes, not just for the character select this time. Most characters now, more notable ones to be specific, like final forms of characters or just important lore characters, will now all have new win quotes, opening quotes, and losing quotes. Take a listen to a few of them.
It appears my expectations were misplaced. Miserable! Damn it all! Come back and try again, if you can get any stronger, that is.
Going in. If you're not gonna run, then put him up. Do you ever shut up? I'm falling asleep over here. The battle ends here. Come back and try again whenever you want. This'll take 10 seconds. I'll be back. I can sense your cowardly energy from a mile away.
This is the end for you! A favorable outcome.
Take a good look. This is the ultimate power. Sorry, but you were wide open. Guess I went too far. You look sleepy. I'll wake you right up.
The main reason I did this is because the quotes in the base game are very poor and overall stale. I decided I'd throw in some new ones to hopefully spice up matches a little bit. I'm unsure if I'll be putting a list of the characters of who got new quotes in the description. If I decide to, just check it and you'll see if I put it in there or not. I'm not decided at this moment if I'm going to, but the characters you saw in this video, plus even more, will be having new opening, losing, and winning quotes. There's over 6 new lines for all these characters, and that's randomized each match, so each character has multiple different quotes to hopefully spice things up a little bit more.
That's about it for the new cast character overhaul project update. There's some stuff I didn't talk about as to not spoil literally everything, but I truly hope you guys enjoyed this video breakdown. As of the current day, we are at version 1.3 of release, or version 1.4 when the Daima DLC update for the patcher comes out. So make sure to keep an eye out for any future updates for the cast character overhaul project. Regardless of such, the link is in the description and it will work on whatever game version is supported by the patcher at this time. So I really hope you all enjoy and have an amazing day.